Good morning and welcome from, well, it's another beautiful day in Ashland, Ohio for the Ashland Invitational, the third annual Ashland Invitational. We'll kick things off this morning. Bear Creek and AWP doing battle. And stepping in the box for Bear Creek to start this one is Jordan Pomeroy, the center fielder. He'll face off against AWP pitcher Marco Diaz. And folks, thanks for joining us this morning as, well, it was a marathon yesterday, not a sprint. And the two guys sitting beside me, I'm surprised they're still alive. But knowing both of those guys, how many hours? 16 hours. Knowing the two guys beside me, I can't believe they're alive anyway, so that doesn't change anything. And that's a ball inside. And when you've known the guys, you guys listened to Mark Hastings and Mike Van Dyne yesterday. I've known both of those guys for 3/4 of my life. Maybe a little longer. And when you've known somebody that long and you're still hanging around with them, there's something wrong with you. 2-1 count to Pomeroy. Wears number 27, plays center field for Bear Creek. And that ball is smoked. And the third base coach is lucky he had a cup of coffee this morning. Otherwise, well, he wouldn't be appreciating it. He might be injured. What do you think? So this is the 2 and the 3 seed. As AWP went 3-0 yesterday. The 1 and the 4 seed will follow at 11 o'clock. And I'm trying to wake up. 1:30 last night before the broadcast. Well, it was close to that, right? They didn't broadcast the last game as Diaz rings up Pomeroy, and he'll head to have a seat. 1 down in the top of the first inning here from Ashland.
Now batting the third baseman, Kyle Ezekiel.
And if you get a crowd this early in the morning, right, they must have went to church last night. Kyle Ezekiel will step in to the plate, and the field, folks, looks pretty good for all the games that were played last night. I'm sure there's a few guys out there that didn't sleep very well, as the offering from Diaz is strike 1. Lots of pitching on this AWP team. And Ezekiel takes one high. Couldn't be more perfect weekend for softball in Ashland. I took the day off, and these guys beside me, I know they're a little tired. Living on love and buying on time. And the fact that I see Mark Hastings drinking an orange soda this early in the morning tells you he doesn't know what he's drinking. Ezekiel gets a pitch inside. 3-1 count on him. 1 out. Top of the first. Bear Creek Express and the AWP Lumberjacks going at it. The Lumberjacks played very well on Friday night and continued their assault. Now, I'm glad I missed the game yesterday. I heard you guys had a marathon game. How long was that? 11 innings. Well, that's great because, Mikey, I didn't know you could count to 11. It was one of the best games Mark Hastings has ever seen. And you know, when I say that, and there's a busted bat out to the shortstop as Cody Pennebecker throws it over, flips it underhand to Cisco Sabate. And that is out number 2 for the Bear Creek Express. If that bat's less than a year old, he can send it back to MVD Sports. I've gotten a lot of gear over the years from Mr. Van Dyne over here. Craig Scott is such a great host. He just brought a pillow up for Mark Hastings. Yeah, well, it's either that or a few ibuprofen, because when you're his age, you can't sit very long. Mark came with the building. Not really. Well, you did hit double nickels on me. Yeah. Which is just when you get started, right? That's just when you get started. Jason Hill, the batter for Bear Creek, and Diaz delivers just a bit outside, and that was just off the black on the corner. And to be quite honest, I don't know that I've seen this infield look this good for a long time as it has in this tournament. It really worked hard. And Craig appreciates it. It's been an excellent tournament so far. That's up high. And Luciano beside me is keeping the numbers. 3 balls and 1 strike. That aerial shot yesterday, man, when I tuned in and saw the aerial shot, which I don't know how he does that. He tried to explain it to me, but I didn't have a translator. But a drone-like type shot was gorgeous. And the good thing about it was you couldn't see Mike or Mark in the picture. That's the first walk of the ball game for Diaz. And we will have the cleanup hitter, number 44, Jeff Lyons, who plays first base, step into the box. And when you're an announcer and you get names like they have on Bear Creek, it's unbelievable, right? Because Mark and Mike are trying to feed me, and Luciano are trying to feed me all the names Friday night. I'm not that smart. They're smarter than me and better looking. Man, what have I got going on? Lions will take the 1-0 offering from Diaz, and it is up high, and he lays off of it. Well, I know if these guys are like we were when we were their age, they're just waking up when they're going up the plate. I can remember driving back from Akron when I was on the country radio station and just in time to get to Mark's house back in the old alley. You and Honecker. Remember those days, Craig Scott? Yeah, we're lucky we made it out of that place alive. Speaking of Honecker, I saw some comments yesterday talking, and I just want to address it because I know that as it's a strike on the outside corner, Mark and Mike talked a lot about the legends that have come through Ashland, Ohio. And that was a great tutorial for people that do not know what Ashland, Ohio was all about in softball. And so I enjoyed the little bit I got to listen to yesterday as my daughter was playing in a softball tournament up in about an hour away, hour and 15 minutes. So it was neat to hear all the names. And they're right. Everybody that's ever been anybody, really, has played in this town. Right? And that's something to be said about that. As we've had a lot of good teams. And 2, as a strike 3 to Lions, and that'll do it in the top of the first inning for Bear Creek. After a half inning of play, no runs on no hits. Score is 0-0. AWP Lumberjacks will be up right after this. We're back. Luciano says 1-2. I don't know if he can count to 4, though. He always stops at 2, Mark. You're watching Softball Premier TV, and I'll tell you what. Friday night I was impressed. I mean, last night you guys did a great job. I mean, seriously, for guys that have zero experience, right, doing TV. Am I right? And a lot of life experience. Trust me, a lot of life experience. But zero TV. I thought you did a whale of a job. I mean, I was impressed. And it was nice to be able to tune in, because back in the day when we were growing up, there wasn't the ability to tune in via the internet. And I think it's you can throw it up on the TV if you want to at home, right? But you can watch it at another game. You can watch it in your car. You can watch it from Tokyo, Japan, which Craig Scott, former player that came through Ashland, Ohio, is watching. Probably, it's a little later, a little different time zone. So they didn't have to get up as early, right? Nicholas Klaas will lead the way for the Lumberjacks. Wears number 96, and he's got a baby face for sure. Klaas and the Jacks 3-0 in this tournament. As they took the second seed. And the Bear Creek Express is seed number 3, as we'll bring ball games to you. Also at 11 o'clock, and then the championship game will be somewhere around 1 o'clock if we don't get another extra inning game. And then Craig Scott will sleep the rest of the afternoon until Wednesday. No? He's got to get back up on the roof. He works. I mean, you'd love to have a day to work outside in this. Perfect. Yep. Slight breeze. Kevin's gone somewhere at a tournament. That's his brother, folks. He's been giving orders to Craig for how many years? Too long, he said. I love it. Klaas will look at the 1-1 pitch from Justin Schofield, and that is right down Brookside Drive. No score. We're early in this one. And the fact that I made it to the field at 8:30, I was driving back from about an hour and 15 minutes away last night. But these guys are way more. They had to do way more than me. Craig, what time did you leave the field last night? 2:30. Craig left the field at 2:30 and got here early enough to bring coffee and donuts. That tells you he's big time. Dedication. That's awesome. Klaas will look at the 2-2 offering from Schofield and skies it coming back at us. Cover your heads. It's over our head. Mark Hastings, folks, if you want to know anything, he did not move. He did not move. He didn't care if the ball was going to hit him in the skull. He didn't move. What's that? He's too tired. I've never seen you tired. Mark's like the Energizer Bunny. I didn't think his batteries ever ran out. Shot up the middle. And a nice play by Travis Jones, but Klaas beats it. First hit of the ball game, and Cody Pennybecker will step up for AWP as, well, the first batter in the game and the first base runner. It's dedication. Did you see out in the stands? Rick McFrederick, who is a local here, is sitting down there all by his lonesome. Cody Pennybecker waits for Schofield's pitch, and he pulls it back. Looked like he was going to bunt. We're going to see. Nope, didn't go. And there's a monitor to my left that I actually could use and probably has great information on it, but I'm standing up. And that doesn't put me very high, folks. I'm about 5'8". And that's a pop-up and a nice basket catch there by Ryan Bolin.
Good hustle by Ryan Bolin.
And that's one down now.
With one away, brings up the center fielder.
As the failed bunt attempt by Pennybecker brings up Jordan Solorio, the center fielder for the Lumberjacks. One out. Kloss on first base. Had the first hit of the ball game. A nice backhand by second baseman Travis Jones, but Kloss beat it out. That's the difference between Kloss and I, Mark. Kloss beat it out. If I hit it anywhere in the infield, I'm just going to watch him throw to first at this point in my life. 1-0 count on Solorio, 1 out. No score. Beautiful Brookside Park, the 3rd annual ASHLAND Invitational. And swing and a miss. How did you guys have enough energy to do 16 hours worth of softball? Well, they didn't talk as much as me. Well, they've never talked as much as me in my lifetime, but they've enjoyed listening to my talking. Back when I was on the radio a lot, they were tuning in. That's great. Well, it's easy not to talk when you got nothing to say. And Galino backs up into the grass and saves his left fielder and pulls one in. And that'll be 2 outs for the Lumberjacks. Francisco Lombardo wears number 24 for the Lumberjacks and plays third base. And rips one into the gap in left center. And Kloss is going to motor, and the throw's going to come in. It's going to be high, and he's going to slide across the plate. That's a double for Lombardo and his first RBI of the game as Kloss makes it 1-0 Lumberjacks. And that was a rope. You could see it.
Double by Lombardo, scores a run. Now batting, shortstop, Carlos Carreno.
Carlos Carreno. And if I say it wrong, trust me, these guys in the booth will tell me how to say it. My English is bad enough, Luciano. I mean, I don't know anything about the rest. My wife's a teacher. I get corrected all the time, trust me. Especially when I post something on social media. I get a note. Ball out in front of the plate and safe is Lombardo on the pass ball, and that'll make it a 2-0 count as that ball just kind of hopped up on the catcher, Bolin. Tough play. Nice hustle by Schofield, but not enough. I mean, fast pitch softball, 60 feet bases. Major League Baseball, that guy's toast, right? He's not even trying. The difference, 30 feet. Well, because they make fast pitch softball so guys like Mark and I could play later in life, right? Right? Guys that are done with their baseball career come out and play some fast pitch softball, right? It's nice. Yeah, we have a league here in Ashland. That is it's a 50 and older league. Is that what it is? Yeah, 50 and older league called Huff and Puffers, and my God, they're huffing and puffing the whole time they're playing. Carreno with a 1-1 count, 2 outs, bottom of the first inning, and a 2-0 lead for the Lumberjacks. Nice looking pitch, and well, out number 2 as Carreno strikes out. Tyler Boulay, who is playing catcher today, well, this is Carreno still. Confused here. He took his helmet off. What account do you have? 0-2? 0-2. All right. I thought that was strike 3. Well, that's strike 3. But he took his helmet off and walked like he was going back to the dugout, so he fooled me. The only person he didn't fool is Luciano over here. He can't be fooled. 2-0. The Lumberjacks lead after 1. You're watching Softball Premier TV, and we'll be back right after this. Leading off the top of the second inning will be the right fielder, Colin Walsh, for the Bear Creek Express as I unpack my bags now. I drove in, I didn't fly in, but I have a bag full of goodies. I don't really do food this early in the morning, but I've got some Pop-Tarts and some ibuprofen, so I don't have to take 8 trips to the restroom. 1-0 count, delivered outside by Marco Diaz. And Walsh will try to get on base and get his team back in this one as they find themselves down 2-0. And folks, if whoever loses is going home. And Mike and Mark are not allowed to lose because they're not allowed to go home. So you got to win every game. You can't lose up here in the press box. Mark wins every day. If you listen to me Friday night, that's because he builds forts with alcoholic beverages in grocery stores and sleeps in the middle. So that's a win for him. And he drinks his way out. I like it. Pop up to first baseman, Cisco Sabate, and that is out number 1. Ryan Bolin will come up to the plate. The catcher did a nice job in the first inning. Had some work back there. And the backstop's about, what, 20 feet behind the plate? Again, I'm not very smart, so I got to ask these guys beside me. Mikey says 20 feet. And you should know these characters beside me. They did every game yesterday. 16 hours worth. If you didn't get sick of them by now, you're good to hear about them. Swing and a miss by Bolin. An 0-2 count as Diaz appears to have a pretty good rhythm. Walked one guy in the first inning. Only one guy made it to first base. And the umpire, not sure what he's doing. We don't pay them guys before the game, so he better get back to work. Diaz rocks and fires and throws an errant pitch outside. And, well,
Jimmy. What's up, guys? How you doing?
You don't want to throw that anywhere near the plate, and he didn't. So that breeze keeps coming here, fellas. Ground ball, and runner safe at first base as Carreña's throw pulled Sabate off the bag. And so I'm going to wait for the ruling. Getting a pinch runner here. So Bolin reaches on an error. I'm going with the scorekeepers to my right. Dallas Cornelius will run for Bolin, the courtesy runner. And to the plate steps Quentin Bruce, the left fielder, for Bear Creek. So I got to just clear this. If he makes a throw on the bag, you think he gets him by half a step? I think so. I think that's why we give him an error. Because it's big boy league, right? If you do that in what I was watching yesterday, 14U women's fast pitch, right? Girls fast pitch, that's probably a hit, right? Here, these boys should make that play. Yeah, it all depends, and Mark, you hit it on the head, dude. Let's talk about this for a second. It all depends if the parent or the coaches are running game changer, whether it's a hit or an error. That is beautiful, dude. That's as beautiful as the sky this morning. We have a pretty good scorekeeper on our team. And my daughter hit her first home run yesterday. It was in the park because she's not strong enough to hit it out. She's got Mikey's genes. Nice pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bruce. 1 out. Yep. All you got to do is look over here. Luciano's got everything going. And that is a fastball on the outside corner. And Bruce got let loose. 2 outs.
With 2 down, brings up the second baseman, Travis Jones.
Travis Jones covers a lot of territory out at second base. And right now, he'll step into the box for the first time in this game. 8th hitter in the lineup for Bear Creek. And Jones waves at 1. Strike 2, swing and a miss. Ball was probably about 4 inches outside. But a nice pitch by Diaz nonetheless. Bully doing the catching duties. Did he catch it all yesterday? He did. And that's what I thought. Friday he didn't catch. But, you know, when you get those long days and you get the heat, it's tough to catch more than a couple games. Unless you absolutely have nobody else, right? He's a pretty good one. Runner advances to second base. Cornelius. I was never accused of being a designated runner. Craig Scott has blazing speed. I don't have that. That's a ground ball. And a routine play as Carreña throws it to Sabate, and that is it in the second inning for Bear Creek. No runs on no hits for Bear Creek in the top of the second inning. We'll head to the bottom of the second when we return on Softball Premier TV. Bully will lead off for the Lumberjacks. Tyler, that is, the catcher. As I get down about a third of a Pop-Tart and a drink of water. I don't really do well eating this early in the morning. It's not early, really, folks. It's really not. It depends on where you're at, right? Listen to the game. Eastern time right now, even though we're in north central Ohio. It's about 9:25. So, not real early unless your name's Hastings, Van Dyne, or Chandler. The young guy behind us, he's operating on a different level. Craig Scott is running on Skol and Mountain Dew. God bless him. Two balls, no strikes. And that's what happens when you get the respect that Tyler Bully does, right? You don't want to make a mistake. He'll hurt you. And there's a strike. But not a pitch you can drive, right? Outside part of the plate. I don't think Bully wanted to go over the left fielder. Go to the left fielder. Justin Schofield. Giving up 2 runs so far in this game. And that's a foul ball back to the screen. Make the count 2-2. Nice looking camera shot here as the 2-2 count will come from Schofield to Booley. Swing and a miss, and that's one out for the Lumberjacks. That'll bring up the DP, Federico Olheiser. Where's number 20? The DP is different than the DD, right? Designated drinker. He's a designated player. Mark Hastings, trust me, has never held that role. Swing and a miss, strike one. I got to keep these guys awake over here. Figure entertaining them is the best way to do it. I saw Mark doze off a couple times, and he's the PA announcer. Ball outside. One out, bottom of the second. A 2-0 lead for the AWP Lumberjacks in this one. The second seed in the third annual Ashland Invitational. The one of two teams to go undefeated. Friday, they won one game, and yesterday they won two. There were 7 games yesterday, so I'm sure, I don't know, was anybody out there tuned into all 7 games? If so, I can send me a stamp and I'll mail you a life. Just kidding. Only 6 were broadcasted. I think I made Craig Scott laugh there. That's kind of unfair, though, to make him send you a stamp. Nice looking pitch, and to the bench goes Olheiser with the second out of the inning.
2 down brings up the first baseman, Cisco Sabate.
Sabate, Cisco that is, the first baseman for this AWP Lumberjacks team. Sabate, a solid stick in this lineup. Plays a pretty good first base as well. And attempts to bunt to get on base. I think I can get the Lumberjacks and the Gremlins, I know. I can see their stats because they've got nothing to hide. Other guys don't let me see their stats online. What's that usually mean? It's not good, right? Schofield delivers, and it's a pop-up. It's going to roll out of play over here, and all 3 fans on the left side just watch it. This place will probably fill up later for the championship game. We had a nice crowd Friday. Did you have a nice crowd last night?
Oh, yeah.
I figured you did. There's not much to do. There's a lot to do, actually, in Ashland than there used to be, right, Craig? We didn't used to have a lot to do in our town. Yeah. Between 150 and 200 people last night, which is good. Back in the day, though, you could see a full house. Kind of a little bit of a drag bunt there. And Travis Jones flips it to Jeff Lyons, and that'll do it for the Lumberjacks in the bottom of the second inning. No runs on no hits. We'll return. You're watching Softball Premier TV. All right, we're back. Third annual Ashland Invitational here at Brookside, Maine, in Brookside Park in gorgeous Ashland, Ohio. Just a beautiful day for softball and a beautiful day to skip church, right? I did. I've got to take that up with God, though. I will. I'll put in a good word for both Mike and Mark because he hasn't heard from them in a long time. Galino, the shortstop, up for Bear Creek here to start the top of the third inning. First offering is a ball, and the second offering from Diaz is a foul ball off the screen over to the left side. And the only place you don't want to see a foul ball, or at least Luciano doesn't want to see one, is on that camera that sits right inside the plate there, because that'd probably be an expensive foul ball, wouldn't it? He's not talking. He's speechless, folks. And that foul ball will go out of play down the left side. Usually there's a T-shirt. Hey, where's the T-shirts at? There's usually a T-shirt table down there. Oh, you should. Well, I can't say what I'm going to say on air, even if it's YouTube. Maybe wet T-shirts you could sell down there? I'm going to get in trouble. Craig Scott's counting his change behind me, and he just lost his count. As Galino strikes out, one out, and that'll bring up the leadoff hitter, Jordan Pomeroy, for Bear Creek. Pomeroy, the lefty, wears number 27, plays center field. And if you can see the outfield, and you can't right now because the angle's on home plate, but the outfield, there's a little bit of a shift for him, as if he's going to hit it to the opposite field. Got the old Rod Carew shift going on. Which makes sense why they're shifting to left. Mark Hastings said he hit 2 bombs over the right field fence, and we've got a shift on here to left. But I don't know, because I don't know in relation to Diaz why they're shifted. If it tells you anything, I'm the only guy of the 3, Craig, Mike, and Mark, that don't have sunglasses on. Because I have Visine, fellas. Pomeroy awaits the pitch from Diaz. Swing and a miss. No balls, 2 strikes, 2-0. Lumberjacks lead here. Top of the third inning from Ashland. And really, some great social media presence for these teams and for the ISC in general, right? Very well publicized, too, by Softball Premier TV. This guy does a heck of a job beside me. He gave me the peace sign. So he doesn't talk, but he does peace. He's not awake. He's got his setup over here. I think he set these cameras up like a month ago, and he's been chilling since then. And that is a heck of a play by center fielder Jordan Solorio as he slides in to catch it. Now, when we were kids, we used to time that up so we could do that. I think he actually made a great play. That ball looked like it was going to drop. With the fly to center field, that's 2 outs, and Kyle Lessical will step up to the plate. Diaz delivers a strike. And I did go back and listen to one of my broadcasts on Friday. I did say baseball one time. I know it's hard. I mean, it's obvious it's larger than that little ball, but it's softer. What's a bat? I know what the bats run for the kids because I have a 2B freshman. Do they use pretty similar bats? I haven't bought a fast, but I haven't purchased a fast pitch, a bat for fast pitch softball in a long time. So what are they running these days?
34 inches, 28 ounces, anywhere from
$300 to $500. We'll head to the bottom of the third inning. We have a 2-0 score. The Lumberjacks lead. You're watching Softball Premier TV. Guy to my left gives me no warning. I was taking a Pop-Tart in between innings there and tried to eat my microphone. What's that tell you? Carlos Colmenares, the right fielder, will step in. The 9th hitter in the order for the Lumberjacks, whose team leads 2-0 here in the bottom of the 3rd. And a little bit low on Colmenares. Had a nice little visit from a team must be playing out at Brookside West, the girls. Did you see? Brought their coach, brought them in. Must have heard Mike and Mark yesterday and said they'd rather watch it in person. 1 ball, 1 strike. As Colmenares is the first batter in the bottom of the 3rd, and that one will go off the glove of Ryan Bolin and back to the screen. I thought these guys would have everything ready for me when I got here. Well, I was dead wrong. I'm joking. I knew they wouldn't. 16 hours of doing nothing, and they could have just filled my stuff out at least. Mark promised me he'd get me next game. Swing and a miss, 2-2 count. As Schofield's found a little bit of rhythm. The combined years of being around softball and playing softball in this booth is what? Over 100, right? Yep, at least. And that's just Mark and Craig. 55 years, yep. Mark's dad, can I tell the Bill Hastings story? Mark's dad was one of the best men I ever knew, and he left us a couple years ago. One out, a strikeout, and Klaus, who had a single as the first at bat, will come to bat. And Mark's dad, I knew since I was 14 years old. I worked at a little place over on Ohio Street called Ricer's Market, and his dad delivered Pepsi. And that's the first time I saw Mark's sister, Julie. I hadn't been in love yet, but I was then. So anyways, back in the day. And then who do I face in my first ever at bat at Congrove Park in a softball game? Dave Honecker, who some people will know, who was involved with softball for years as Lyons takes the weak ground ball and takes care of it by himself at first base, second out of the inning. Your dad, as I step into Congrove, as Cody Panabacker steps in, the second baseman. Your dad, I walk to the plate, and your dad gets this big smile on his face. Now, I played a lot of baseball, right? But I had never played fast-pitch softball, and we had Honecker and a pickup team, right, playing against your dad and a bunch of guys. I can't remember what it was. They picked me up for the game. So I step into the box, and I hit a foul ball. It's probably 200 feet over the plate. And your dad just starts laughing. He's like, he's known me since I was little, and he's like, well, I mean, what's he going to do, right? Because baseball's different than softball. I mean, Jeff McFarland, who played for Merchant CSS, once told me it takes you 2 years to hit 200 if you play fast-pitch softball. Is that pretty accurate, Mark? And his dad threw the next pitch, and I hit it off the bricks in left field. True story. I don't think I saw that pitch ever again, though. It didn't get any better after that, though. I think that's the only one I hit off the bricks in my entire fast-pitch career. Most of them was off the backstop, right? And that's how I've known Mark forever. How many years? 40 years. I've known Mark for 40 years. Fly ball taken care of by Travis Jones. That'll retire the side, and the Lumberjacks go down with no hits on no runs, no errors. Nobody left on base. We'll head to the top of the 4th inning, and the Lumberjacks lead this one 2-0. You're watching Softball Premier TV. We're back, and Jason Hill, the DP for Bear Creek Express, will step into the box against Marco Diaz, who's been relatively flawless in this one. Outside of an error and a base on balls. Well, we're not going to say it. We're not in a dugout. Can we say no hitter? You jinxed the guy. Okay, so well, maybe here comes a hit. I don't think if you're not technically involved in the game, you jinx anybody, right? But I mean, you're not in a dugout. Craig Scott is handing out donuts. That's how good of a guy he is. He hands out donuts to the diabetic out here in the front. Who's going to need a shot of insulin in about 10 minutes. That's how good of a guy Craig is. Oh. You sure you want to come back, new games? Just for the rest of the day, and then I'm fired, he said. Then I am truly fired, because next year they want to do 12 all by themselves. I've heard that. They're actually hoping I'll probably contribute more next year. It'll all depend on whether my contract gets signed or not. Or was that my contacts or my contract? Swinging him, driving to right center field for Hill. And guess what we just did? We jinxed him. Luciano, that always works out, doesn't it? You say there's a no-hitter, and guess what happened? So, folks, if you want to hit, just call us, and we'll mention no-hitter in the press box. That is amazing. How many times does that happen, though? Happens a lot. Happens. It's almost remarkable how many times it happens. Yep, it does. So Jeff Lyons, the first baseman, stands in, and the ball gets away, and trotting over to second base is Hill. So Bear Creek will try to get something going here as they find themselves down by 2 in the top of the 4th. Pretty good ball game, folks. Let's hope it's not 11 innings worth. Just a bit outside there. And Luciano has all these replays and all this fancy stuff on the screen, and I'm watching the game, really not watching the screen. He's offered to fire me a couple times, but they wouldn't let him, to my right. Swinging another ground ball, and that one will be taken care of by second baseman Cody Pennebecker. But the runner will advance to third, will Jason Hill. And so now the first run of the ball game is 60 feet away, and right fielder Colin Walsh will step in. Well, and if you don't have any runs, I know what I do as a coach here. I'm going to push him across. And we'll see if that's the case. And the ball gets away, and here he comes down, and he doesn't even need to bunt. Jason Hill, courtesy of the wild pitch, scores. And that'll be the first run of the ball game for Bear Creek, and now a 2-1 score. These guys to my left and right are right on top of that. That one was on the scoreboard quicker than I said it, and Luciano had it on the TV. I almost felt obligated to say they scored one. Marco Diaz now taking his time, regrouping, as, well, the bases are empty. So he's just got to do his job now with the 2-0 count. Throws a pitch that's offered on inside by Walsh. 2-1. One out. Top of the 4th inning. 2-1. The Lumberjacks lead. The second seed in this Ashland Invitational, 3rd annual. Playing the 3rd seed. And the next game, well, we'll get 1 and 4 as the Gremlins will be in action. And, well, he knew that that was not going to work out well for him, and he carried the bat the whole time, did Walsh.
Brings up the catcher, Ryan Bolin.
Ryan Bolin, who reached on an error in his first at bat, steps into the plate. 2 outs. Diaz getting back into a rhythm here as his team leads 2-1 in the top of the 4th. And the pitch is some high heat, and Bolin got down in a hurry. You're always shocked how fast you can move, right, when the ball comes at your head. Because, I mean, I don't know. What's the equivalent of him throwing out there? What do you think? Probably 90s. Yeah, high 90s. Yeah, I mean, it's not the guys we watched growing up like a Zach or an Allgaier. What's that?
Equivalent for a baseball.
Yeah, equivalent to high 90s for a baseball, yeah. Mark's getting all technical on me over here. He's an engineer, not an engineer. That's a newly created word. We'll put that one in the in Webster. At least the Urban Dictionary. Engineer. Underneath it'll say Mark Hastings. He's my favorite type. That's my favorite type. Should be a major in that in college. I got straight A's. Swing and a miss, and that'll do it for Ryan Bolin and Bear Creek Express. As they do score 1 run on 1 hit, they trail 2-1 as we head to the bottom of the 4th here. You're watching Softball Premier TV. All right, we're back. Two to one, the Lumberjacks lead this one. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Leading off for AWP.
And leading off for AWP is the center fielder, Jordan Solorio.
Jordan Solorio.
And Solorio, in his first at bat, popped out, and the shortstop made a pretty good play out in the outfield. But if you don't remember, I got to tell you because you're probably not going to rewind at this point of the game.
Bless you.
Inside corner, and he didn't like it at all. Solorio kind of shrugged his shoulders on that one. 1 ball, 1 strike, no outs. And for those of you that aren't here, we are about an hour south of Cleveland and an hour and 15 minutes north of Columbus, Ohio. Strike 2. It's the perfect place, right, to travel into. You can fly into Columbus. You can fly into Cleveland. You can fly into Akron. You can head over here on 71 or State Route 30. Or you can fly into Toronto and hit the casino and then drive down, which is what the Bear Creek Express did. I'm just repeating what the engineer over here is telling me. Solorio, strikeout, brings up the third baseman, Francisco Lombardo. And really a pitch that's, as many of you know, that's close, that's called a strike, if you don't feel it's a strike, changes your whole at bat. Because that puts you in an 0-2 count versus an 0-1 count, and you have to think differently as a hitter. You're fighting for your life versus, you know, being a little more patient. Swing and a miss on that pitch outside, 0-2 count on Lombardo. I better pace myself. We have 3 straight games. As long as there's not 16 hours worth, I'm good. Because I'll probably go have an adult beverage and throw my feet up and watch golf the rest of the afternoon. Do you watch golf? Luciano, do you watch golf? Yeah. Do you know there's a big tournament going on right now? He does. He shakes his head yes. He doesn't get to watch much of it, but there's a big tournament going on. It used to be called the British Open, and now it's called the Open. But it's exciting. Big lead yesterday. I believe a 5-stroke lead for Brian Harmon. And my guy Jason Day, sitting not too far behind him, doesn't tee off until after these games are over. So I'll finish my day watching Day. And that is a pop fly, barely into foul territory, and that is a heck of a play from Kyle Ezekiel. 2 down.
With 2 down, brings up the shortstop, Carlos Corrado.
If you saw that play at home, I mean, that is an incredibly difficult play right there. Over the shoulder, spun around, and you got nothing to lose because if you drop it, it's a foul ball, right? And nobody's on base that can tag, so you're good. But he made a heck of a play. And that's just a bit outside to Carlos Carreño. Oh, Escobar? Mark's trying to tell me something, but I didn't know he spoke French. I couldn't understand what he meant. Mike said half the girls in Pennsylvania did. Knew he spoke French. Crowd on the right side must have been getting sick of the sun there, moved out of the sun, which would be where Craig's mom was sitting. 3 balls, 1 strike, 2 outs. Bottom of the 4th inning. Lumberjacks lead 2-1 in this one. Your first semifinal today. And that's a swing and a miss. Full count. This is when you're glad you're not at a girls' softball game, the young girls, because what do? They're all cheering and screaming and saying base hit, ball 4, all that stuff that just drives me absolutely insane. But they don't quit doing it in college. I watch a lot of the World Series and they cheer. The Little League boys baseball team, Mike Van Dyne said, are starting to do that. Well, and that's good. You know, for the young kids, it's good because it keeps them going and gives them some energy and makes them want to keep, you know, playing. And anything that encourages kids to – ball is right underneath of Bolin. And, well, the batter gets to first base, and we'll have to call that an error on the catcher. That's strike 3, right? So, KE2. Tyler Boulay, the catcher, will step up to the box, and Carreño's kind of bent over on his knees there, like he may be, you think he's a little worn out or just stretched something? Or I mean, yesterday I had to take a lot out of everybody, right? What's the most games you ever played in one day, Mark? Yeah, he played 6 or 7 games in one day, so I don't feel sorry for Carreño right now. He only played a couple yesterday. He's a nice player, though. Mikey said the reason why Mark Hastings played 6 or 7 games in one day is because he had to fight back in a loser's bracket. Facts. Hashtag facts. That's the only way you can play 6 or 7 games because the other guys are sitting waiting on you. Schofield rocks, fires, and throws a strike. Right at the letters on Boulet's jersey.
But that means he won 5 of them.
Yeah, but that means he won 5 of them. Junior Male Athlete of the Year in 2015, Tyler Boulet has a 1-2 count and on his way to second base and getting tagged out is Carrena, and he is having a conversation with the second base umpire as the throw was over to the right side of the bag, and somehow the tag got Carrena before he could get into the bag. So a heck of a play by the shortstop on the throw from Ryan Bolin, and Galeno tags out Carrena. And we'll head to the top of the 5th inning here in Ashland. Your score, the Lumberjacks 2, Bear Creek 1. You're watching Softball Premier TV. We'll be right back. Tim Maziar brought up an interesting stat as he's listening down below, and he's at every ball game that exists. He said the delivery of an 85-mile-an-hour pitch in fast-pitch softball, you have about 0.37 seconds to react. As compared to Major League Baseball, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, you have 0.41. 0.37 seconds. Wow. That's not a lot of time to decide what you're going to do. First pitch comes in to Quentin Bruce, the left fielder for Bear Creek, as his team trails 2-1 here in the top of the 5th inning from the 3rd annual Ashland Invitational. What can you do in 0.37 seconds?
Swing and hope.
Swing and hope. That's what Mark said. I can eat the rest of my Pop-Tart. That took me 0.32. Swing and a miss by Bruce. 1 ball, 1 strike. I'm finishing up my breakfast, folks. I'm allowed to eat a Pop-Tart, right? That's a little high cheese right there, 2-1. Top of the 5th inning, and, well, I think the crowd's all hiding in the shade. What do you think? They're behind me. And it's just going to get a little warmer. And that was a change-up that Diaz threw perfectly to Boulet, the catcher. And Bruce looks at strike 3. And we're going to get a replay of that one. Not many pitches prettier than that, Luciano.
Now batting the second baseman, Travis Jones.
So Travis Jones will step in, the second baseman, with 1 out here in the top of the 5th inning. His team trails 2-1. Diaz, pretty darn good changeup, as you just saw right there. And, you know, a guy like me probably sit on that, right? Just wait for it, because I doubt I could do much with the fast one. Yep. Just decide. And if he hasn't seen you play before, he has no idea what you're going to swing at, right? And that's what I said Friday, right? You really have to determine, you have to have a game plan when you walk up to the plate. You can't just walk up to the plate and say, I'm going to hit what he pitches me. If you do that, you're going back to the dugout. And Jones strikes out swinging. That's the second out of the inning. And David Galino, the shortstop, who bats ninth in the lineup for Bear Creek, will step in. Galino. Mike's got him changing names over here. Can you hear the PA announcer through my mic? Make sure you get it right next time. Just kidding. I'm joking. I butchered enough names on Friday. I should have sold them by the pound. Right? Could have had my own meat store, right? Do you get paid for butchering names at $9.99 a pound? You and I'd be rich. Strike on the outside corner. Pretty pitch by Diaz. 1-1 count, 2 outs. Top of the 5th inning. And Mark Hastings just got an important call. It's got to be important for him to leave us, right? Ground ball down to the third baseman. Going to be called foul. Ooh, I don't know. What do you think, Luciano? Was that foul? He thought it was fair. I thought it was fair. Yep, Lombardo fielded it like it was fair. But oh well. We'll do it again. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And Galino, or as Mike Van Dyne says, Molino, digs in. I got to give him crap, folks. Mikey and I have really known each other forever, since he was shooting BB guns at the Worcester kids out on Countryside Drive. Folks, I used to babysit the next-door neighbor's kids for a week at a time, and the Van Dyne kids were next door. Don't wish that on anybody if you're a parent. Of course, Mitch, and that's strike 3, but it gets back to the screen, and Galino will make his way to first base. So Bear Creek will have a base runner as their leadoff hitter, Jordan Pomeroy, who's 0 for 2, fly ball to center field last time, will step up. I like to tell a lot of stories, right? And that's a true story. True story. One of the Worcester boys got shot by a BB gun by one of the Van Dyne boys. Now, we're not going to identify the names to protect the innocent. But if you were a parent and your neighbor boy shot your kid with a BB gun, you might applaud him if they're bad kids. I think it is, probably. Well, it's like a pump BB gun, right? Yeah. Countryside Drive, folks, is one of the nicest streets in Ashland. How you could raise such hooligans, I don't know. They're great kids. I mean, Mark and Mitch turned out very well. That's Mike's brothers. Mitch was tuned in yesterday, I saw. Get a stamp from him. Was he here? Did he come out? He was trolling social media, I saw. And liking Mike's post. That's a family that sticks together. Pomeroy, the center fielder, has a 1-2 count with 2 outs here in the top of the 5th inning. And Bear Creek, with a runner on first base, would like to get that runner home. And he's going to steal second, and he's going to be safe as the throw is high from Boulay. And Boulay, I'm not sure what happened, but he wasn't happy about that. Probably just because he stole second base, right? He turned around and used an adjective, so that's how I could tell. He's a pretty good catcher, right? Something Mark Hastings has never done in his entire life, which is not a fact. There's no hashtag before that. Yeah, he's never used adjectives because he doesn't know what they are. He can't tell them from a noun. Just kidding, Mark. That's brutal to do to your buddies, isn't it? I'm just glad. This is the most time I've spent with Mark Hastings since my wedding 25 years ago. Seriously. You know, folks, it's funny, and I talked about it yesterday. And if you don't experience winter just plug your ears, because we do in Ohio. And it gets pretty cold here in north central Ohio, does it not? Pitch is outside, and that's going to allow Pomeroy to walk and Galeno to trot over to third. So first and third with 2 outs.
Brings up the third baseman, Kyle Essicle.
And Essicle, who made a dandy play. Usually the guy that makes a dandy play leads off the inning, but he's batting in this inning, and here comes a trip to the mound. But you know what? What I was going to say is we're going back to the wedding. There's about 375 people packed the hall over at St. Edward's here, which is a Catholic parish in Ashland. Mark was one of those people, and blessed to have Mark there. And Mark says to me, it's wintertime. It's January 31st, right? And there's nothing to do at the time in Ashland. We didn't have the restaurants we have now, and I hope that the players that are here for this tournament have enjoyed Ashland, Ohio. Because Ashland, Ohio today, folks, if you come and visit, got a lot of good stuff, right? The downtown used to be a hole. Now it's full of soul. That's what I like to say. So the downtown's really got cleaned up. It's beautiful, right? It's very nice. The only thing that was here before was Mike and Mark and me. I mean, that's it. There was nothing else. And so they fixed the downtown up, and it's nice. But there's not a lot to do in the wintertime, right? So my wedding was a pretty good time. I mean, Mark said something to me 25 years ago that stuck out. And I mean, when you're at a wedding, you talk to a lot of people, right? There's a couple people that said things to me that really I remember. Bob DeFranco said, who's no longer with us, who Mike knows. Bob DeFranco said, when the beer's all gone, so are the people. And that was a fact, right? So we had to run and get a couple trips to the store. But Mark said we should have more weddings in the wintertime because it's a blast and there's nothing to do, which shows you he's never been on skis, right? He's never been on a slope. Well, he has, but it's been on a golf course. Ground ball, and the ball is bobbled, and that's going to push the second run across. And so now, folks, we have a tie ball game as Ezekiel reaches on an error by second baseman Cody Pennebacker.
Still 2 away, brings up the designated player, Jason Hill.
So runners at first and second, and Jason Hill, the DP, who hits third in the lineup, probably usually the guy that hits third is pretty good. And so we have a tie ball game with runners on first and second, and Mark and Mikey couldn't wait for there to be a tie. They did an 11-inning ball game yesterday. The first ball game was 11 innings, right? Ball 1 to Hill. So Diaz has had a conversation with his manager, who's came out of the dugout and he's sitting over by the fence. That's never a good sign, right? So weddings in the wintertime in north central Ohio are the perfect thing to do. Because you're playing ball in the summertime. That's what Mark said. And Mark did. Mark's played hundreds of ball games, right? Is that accurate? Yep. I loved watching Mark play back in the day. And Mark's always come back to Ashland to play, right? He's lived in Pennsylvania for how many years? 16 years. See, here, folks, I got to tell you another story while I'm at it. As Hill takes a couple swings here as the umpire tries to get things figured out. When Mark built a house less than a minute away from me on Mifflin Avenue here in Ashland, Ohio, which is kind of up Route 30, if you understand where Route 30 is. It goes east and west a long way, right, in the United States. Mark builds a house, walks through my house to see my house, which I had just built 6 months earlier. Mark wants to get an idea if there's anything he wants to do that he doesn't want to miss. So he goes and builds a house, lives there for about 6 months, moves to Pennsylvania. I ain't seen him since. That's not true. He has been back. And he moved there. He still lived here for 3 years, so I'm just giving him crap. He was there for a few years. But I remember that house, when you built that house, that was fun. It really was. And he was literally a minute away from me. Runners advance. Second and third, 2 outs, and a 1-2 count on Jason Hill, the designated player. But I don't think Mark ever anticipated moving to Pennsylvania in his lifetime. Mark worked for a company called the Bisman Company, and again, we worked 45 seconds apart. I worked at a company called the Charles Ritter Company. We were both sales guys, and on Friday afternoon, I would go down and see Mark and play some pool and have a beverage. we had a good time, didn't we, Mark? And that's been how many years ago? Wow. 20 years ago, probably. Yeah. But those were the days, right? Benny Bissman and the Bissman Company and Mark and I and Poole and 12-ounce girls. Just glad this one isn't on one of the 3 major networks, or I wouldn't be allowed to say that probably. And that is hit to the shortstop, and he will finish the inning as Carlos Carreña to Cisco Sabate, and that'll do it for Bear Creek in the top of the 5th inning, but not before they tie things up. It's 2-2 here from lovely Ashland, Ohio. As we'll head to the bottom of the 5th inning, the Lumberjacks will bat, and you're watching Softball Premier TV. All right, we're back. We're swapping some stories over here with my buddies of many years who did the games yesterday, Mark Hastings and Mike Van Dyne, that we will not share on the air. We have a lot of stories, right? Yep. Good ones, bad ones, and great ones. There's no ugly ones. I was the ugliest thing they knew. And Boulay steps in and struck out in his first at bat. 2-2. Bottom of the 5th inning as the Lumberjacks face Justin Schofield. Schofield has went the distance. He's actually thrown a pretty good ball game. He's settled down and he's in his rhythm, right? Only give him up 2 hits. Yep. That's because we're not batting, buddy. That's a joke because we probably wouldn't have hit him. And if you look out here and of course the angle's right now, and that's a strike. Luciano has the camera working right now on home plate, but if you look out in the outfield, in left center field, he's got a camera that can angle out there. There's some people sitting in the shade, right? So there's shady people in the press box and people sitting in the shade in the outfield. And that's it for Boulay, out number 1. DP Federico Olheiser will step into the box. And we do have people in front of us now. They're braving the sunshine. It's going to get hot. It's hot on those bleachers. And Schofield grunts loudly as he delivers that one, a strike. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning of game number 1 of the semifinal matchups here at Ashland in the Ashland Invitational. Bear Creek and the AWP Lumberjacks going at it. 2-2 tie. And Schofield delivers the ball outside. Schofield rocks, fires, and a swing and a miss. Olheiser Friday was a late ad. Started this game at the DP spot. Three-man crew out here Did we get the umpires? Did you have those umpires for me up? And I missed it? Well, you showed everybody, right? I don't have to tell you who they are if you saw them. And that is a fly ball high and deep to center field, and he runs out of real estate, does Jordan Pomeroy. And just that quick, Olheiser breaks the tie.
Home run for Olheiser.
3-2 as Olheiser hit that ball near the flagpole.
Brings up the first baseman, Cisco Sabate.
Cisco Sabate, the first baseman, will step in for the Lumberjacks. And Mike and Mark were hoping we didn't go 11 innings in this one. Will you sleep after you leave, or are you headed right back to PA? He's got to drive back to PA. You going to rest a little bit? No rest for the wicked. He said he's not resting. How far is your drive? Oh, wow. 5 hours. Well, there's some guys here from Philadelphia, right? So Fishers is from Lancaster. They'll play the Gremlins next, and they've got about the same drive that Mark does. He said he'll pass them on the turnpike on the way home. Like they're sitting still, I'm sure. Swing and a miss, Sabate. 2 balls, 1 strike. Strike 2. It says 0-0 on the screen, but it's actually 2-2 as Luciano's took a nap over here to my left. Finally, yesterday got to him. And that is strike 3 as he offered. And Schofield is getting better as the game goes on. He's in a rhythm right now. And not the kind of rhythm that Sabate wanted to see. 2 outs as Carlos Colmenares, the right fielder, steps up. Bottom of the 5th inning. Team leads by 1. And that must have been low. It's hard to tell low and high from here, right? Would you agree with that when you're up? I remember, and that's high. Easy to tell right and left. Because, I mean, folks, I'm directly behind home plate. The camera angle is a little bit different. You can't put the camera angle directly behind the pitch or you wouldn't see the plate. Then you'd be like 90% of the umpires in America. That was a joke. These guys have done a great job, have they not? That's on the inside corner. 2-1 now, the count on the batter, Colmenares. And that is, we'll even the count 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 3-2. Lumberjacks lead. And Colmenares will await Justin Schofield's pitch. Schofield rocks, hops, and Colmenares drops. Strike 3. That'll do it as Schofield strikes out 3 batters but gives up a home run to Federico Olheiser. Your score after 5 from Brookside Park. The AWP Lumberjacks 3, the Bear Creek Express 2 will return after this on the Softball Premier TV. right, we're back as we head to the top of the 6th inning. A 3-2 lead for the Lumberjacks in your first of 2 semifinals from Ashland. 3rd annual Ashland Invitational. And leading off for the Bear Creek Express is the number 4 hitter, first baseman Jeff Lyons. Mark Hastings says, I hear an echo. Lyons, the left-hander, facing Diaz and fouls it off the screen. Who played the last game last night? Anybody playing today?
ASHLAND and
Fisher's fast pitch, so they might be a little tired. Craig's, yeah, and that game ended pretty late. Yeah, 1:15. That's what I thought. Diaz delivers, and that's a changeup that was laid off of, I believe. Jeff Lyons, a good-looking hitter up there. Is he about 6'2"? I don't have all the sizes, folks. This isn't. They didn't give me a program ahead of time and said, "Here you go." Anything that was programmed came from the good old Google for me. Strike 3 on Lyons, 1 out, and Colin Walsh, the right fielder, will step up to the plate. The setup's nice, but you don't get all the information on the monitor as if I was doing a college basketball game or football game. They kind of spoil you at those things. You get more information sometimes than you need. But we have, I guarantee you, as good a camera work as we have at those games. Seriously, this guy to my left does a phenomenal job. He found his niche, and he appears to enjoy it. Am I right? Luciano gives me the thumbs up because he doesn't talk anymore. I don't know why. Oh, that ball is bobbled by Carreña, and that will be, I'm going to call that an error. Walsh reaches on an error on the shortstop, Carreña. Well, and 1 out's different than if you start with a leadoff runner, right? I mean, the odds of scoring with a leadoff runner are much better than if you have 1 out. Because although you can still bunt the runner over here, fellas, if you've got your, a guy like Bolin that hits pretty well, right? You might want to let him take a crack at it. The odds of him giving you 2 runs are even better. And swing and a miss by Ryan Bolin, the catcher. No balls, 2 strikes. Top of the 6th inning here. 3-2. The Lumberjacks lead Bear Creek. And Nubber to first base, which is handled by Sabate, but the runner, Walsh, advances to second. So now, with 2 away, that runner advances to second base into scoring position for the left fielder, Quentin Bruce. Bruce has seen relatively 0 action. Mark's trying to get in good with the commissioner of softball. Diaz delivers with a runner on second and 2 outs outside. And that's important because a couple of wild pitches here, and we've got a tie ball game again. Second game between the Gremlins and Fishers set to start at 11 o'clock, and that is a pass ball, and just like that, we have a runner on third base and 60 feet away from tying this ball game up. And you got to wonder, you got to wonder how long the rope is for Diaz right now, right? I mean, because he's got a runner on third base and he's thrown 2 pitches that were pretty far outside. The last one being a pass ball or a wild pitch, I should say. Can't call that a pass ball. There's no way Bully could have got his glove on that even. So tying run 60 feet away, and that pitch is on the corner for a strike. Craig Scott's back in the house. He drug Brian Culler in with him. Now there's more than 100 years worth of softball in here. Rabbit's back here now. He took his hat off. He might be 102. That would be Craig's brother-in-law. We're having a conversation at the plate right now, and I'm not quite sure of the gist. Did either one of you fellas figure that out? What that conversation was about? Yeah, with the umpire. Strategy with the umpire, Mike said, which is interesting. I thought that only happened at Yankees games. Had to get that in, Luciano. Sorry. Luciano, are you a Yankees fan? No. Who do you root for? Anybody? He's a Red Sox fan, which is glad he doesn't live in New York if he's a Red Sox fan. Might not be safe for him to walk to Dairy Mart. So Bruce walks, and that'll bring up second baseman Travis Jones with runners on the corner and 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. And we're going to get a pinch runner or a pinch hitter. We got a pinch hitter, number 6, Tyler Pauly. Pauly, I believe, was getting his ankle wrapped before this contest. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
Is he the one that hurt himself, Mark? Tyler Pauly, if Mark was telling me the truth, is one of the best hitters in Canada, right? And he hurt his ankle yesterday swinging. And so he turned his ankle in the box. And so Tyler, when I walked in, was getting his ankle wrapped. So hopefully he's okay, because we don't want to see anybody get injured. Mark, I can drive an hour in my car and get out and my ankle got twisted somehow. That's what happens when you're 54 years old. I can't imagine what it's like to be 60. He's not 60. He's like 55, right? 55. He's double nickels. He's a year older than me. And way wiser, folks. So Pauly, the pinch hitter, facing Diaz with runners on the corners, 2 outs. And that ball is sailed, and that'll allow the runner to advance to second. But again, like I said on Friday, that backstop, the ball bounced right back to the catcher. If that backstop isn't the way it's set up with wood down there and it's just a regular fence, that would have probably died at the fence and we'd have had a runner score. But there's a wood fence painted green that follows around the backstop, and it bounced it right back to the catcher. So second and third now, and the pitch to Pauly is swing and a miss. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs, top of the 6th, 3-2. Lumberjacks lead, and Bear Creek is threatening. The lefty, Tyler Pauly, awaits the delivery from Diaz. Diaz looks at his catcher, Tyler Boulay. Rocks and fires and throws it away, and here comes the tying run to the plate, and he scores. So we're all tied up, folks, as I had mentioned earlier. Your 2 wild pitches are pass balls away from a tie ball game. And that's what we have. And this Bear Creek team came into the game ranked higher than the Lumberjacks. I mean, and when you get games like this, as you know, back home, these games can be very close. And the difference between a team ranked, number 7 versus number 3 is not very much, right? Mark Hastings gives me the emphatic no. Coming from an engine beer, that means a lot. Ball outside, and Pauly will trot on down to first. And so you have to wonder if Diaz's leash is short. As Galeno, the shortstop, David that is, will come up to the plate, or will he? Yep, he will. But we're going to have a runner go down and take the injured ankle of Pauly off the base, which makes sense, right? Don't want him to further injure that. And Travis Jones returns. So Pauly literally was just a pinch hitter there. Jones is going to return to his position. Galino steps in with runners on the corners, and now, folks, we have a tie ball game, 3-3 here in the top of the 6th. And Diaz delivers. And that is a strike on the outside corner, and, well, Galino didn't like it, neither did anybody in the Bear Creek dugout. This is where I heard the best line ever to an umpire in fast pitch softball. Do you remember what that was? I'm going to tell you in a second. Oh, and there's another high pitch. And coming across to score is the Bear Creek Express's Bruce, Quentin Bruce. Makes it a 4-3 ball game. And now we have a runner on second with a 1-1 count. And just like that, a team that looked like they maybe didn't have a prayer in this ball game are leading. So many years ago, well, there was a guy that played for a few teams in Panama and played shortstop for the Faultless Rubbermen. We all know who it is. Come on, give me the name. Tom Zappone, Mark Hastings said. And Paul Bowles was umpiring. Do you remember Paul Bowles? Paul Bowles was a good guy, right? Very good guy. And rest his soul, he was a good guy. But he called Zappone out on strike 3, and Zappone looked at him and said, Paul, if you wouldn't have gambled away your Social Security check, you wouldn't have to do this. That's probably the funniest line I've ever heard. That stuck in your head, right? That's a classic. That is a classic. And the way Bulls umpired, he was pretty good. He's a pretty good umpire. Miss that guy. Jordan Pomeroy will come to the plate, and Galino will trot down to first, and that may be it for Diaz. While he's having a conversation, we'll take a quick break. You're watching Softball Premier TV. All right, we're back. I think we're back. Are we back? We're back. Got to ask the guy to my left. He's the He's the DJ Luciano, playing the music for you there on the break. And we're waiting as the center fielder and left fielder of the Lumberjacks, Solorio and Kloss, we're talking about where they're going to maybe eat lunch. So the umpire held play up for a second. And that pitch was delivered way inside to Pomeroy. Pomeroy, the leadoff hitter for Bear Creek, is 0 for 2 with a walk today. He advances far as third, and he'll try to get another run home as his team has taken a one-run lead here in the top of the 6th inning. And Marco Diaz pitched a whale of a game. He really did. And just like that, he's down. Couple wild pitches. I mean, they were not catchable. Let's clear that up. Boulay didn't have a chance to catch those balls. He's done a heck of a job back there. And it's tough. I mean, gosh, Mark, you caught a little bit, right? No, never caught? I thought you did. Just caught a cold. But the guys like Boulay, Johnny Melchiori caught a bunch of games. And, well, you got to be on the mark, right? Literally. Because that ball's coming at you in a hurry. And that ball is lifted to left field, and, well, they're happy that Mikolas Kloss was playing close to the line as he makes that a routine play, but not before Bear Creek takes the lead. 2 runs for Bear Creek in the top of the 6th inning, and they find themselves leading this one 4-3. We'll return on the Softball Premier TV network. The line on Marco Diaz in this game, he threw 5.2 innings, gave up 2 hits, 4 runs, struck out 10, and 1 of those runs were earned. It's a tough exit. 4 runs with 1 earned. And that is back to the screen. Kloss, perfect position playing down that line, wasn't he, for that last fly ball? I got a message on my phone. It says, check your weekly report, see where you can improve. It's got to be a lie. Where can I improve? Maybe quit eating so many carbs. Carbs are good, though, right? Carbs are liquid carbs, yeah. Drink your diet. Spoken like a true engineer. If you're just joining us, that's an engineer, but his name's Hastings. That should be a degree, man. Swing and a miss by Kloss. 2 balls. Does that count right? 2 balls, 1 strike, right? Except for there's no outs over there, Mr. Scoreboard Operator. It's all right. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Well, that must have been 2 balls, 2 strikes. So we were all wrong, and that's strike 3 on Kloss.
With 1 out, brings up the second baseman.
One out in the bottom of the 6th inning here at the 3rd annual Ashland Invitational semifinal. The 9 o'clock game is going to push its way all to 11, right? What's the designated time in between games? 15 minutes. Well, unlike the press box that I'll be donning this fall, as I'm the PA announcer now for Ashland High School football, there's a restroom right behind me. That's pretty convenient, right? When you get to be in your mid-50s, that's a crucial part of signing the deal. Cody Pennebecker swings and misses at a high fastball from Schofield, and Schofield really has picked it up. Struggled a little bit early, but we haven't seen that for a while. He gave up the home run last inning to Olheiser, and that's pretty much the only mistake he's made in a long time. Numbers on Schofield: 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, and he's also struck out 10. So both pitchers doing a pretty good job. But not like, again, when we were kids, Craig, and we'd watch Lauren Allgaier or Darren Zach, and you'd get up to the plate and you'd hope you just smell it because they threw perfect game after perfect game, right? And Hayden Smith, nothing like watching Hayden Smith walk into Brookside Park with 2 breakfast burritos, 1 in each hand. Do you remember when Hayden Smith tried out for the Cleveland Indians? He threw 70, what? That is crushed. That is to, folks, if you're looking, you can see beyond the fence there, there's some people practicing over on a Little League field. That was crushed. That was a no-doubter. And Pennebecker is letting everybody know as he has tied this ball game up. And did I jinx Schofield? Hit that one almost. He hit that one almost to the Little League field. Yeah, that's in the creek. Or as we say in Ashland, and Craig Scott said, crick. It's creek if you're not from Ashland. It's crick if you're from here. It ain't the creek. It's the crick. We're Ohio bellies, but we're proud of that. Solorio swings and misses with 1 out and a tie ball game here in the bottom of the 6th inning of this first semifinal. The 3-hitter, center fielder Jordan Solorio, has an 0-1 count. Schofield delivers low, bounces in the dirt. Schofield getting comfortable out there is, well, it's hard to get comfortable after you deliver about how far was that? 300 feet probably. 350? 350. Craig Scott measured it with his laser beam glasses, and he said it was 350, but it was crushed. I mean, I haven't seen a ball hit that hard since Mark Hastings played here. It was the other team. He was pitching. That was wrong. Ezekiel over to Lions, 2 away, as Solorio returns to the dugout.
With 2 away, brings up the 3rd baseman, Francisco Lombardo.
Francisco Lombardo will step in. That was kind of cruel, right, Mark? It was 325, 350. That's exactly right. And he said something, folks, you didn't hear him. If you pitch long enough, you're going to give up a few home runs. And that's not a bad thing because a lot of guys lose games 2-1, 1-0 where they've only given up 1 home run. Right? They've only thrown 1 bad pitch the entire game. And that happens, right? And Schofield with 10 strikeouts in this ballgame hasn't thrown a lot of bad pitches. Really hasn't. We have not seen a lot of walks out of him. I was looking to see. I'm not sure we do have a walk from him, do we? I don't think so. And Schofield looks like he's going to be the guy to pitch the duration of this game unless it gets out of hand. Tied ball game, 4-4. Bottom of the 6th. Mark Hastings just said he gave up back-to-back-to-back jacks. Did you really? To John Walters, Tree Smith, and Rod Ickes. Well, I know all three of those guys very well. My son spends way too much time at John Walters' house as he dates his daughter, Vivian, assistant principal at the high school. And that's 3 outs for the Lumberjacks, but not before Cody Pennybecker ties it up with a shot to left field that everybody in Ashland heard. He crushed that pitch about 350. Will return for the top of the 7th inning. You're watching Softball Premier TV. All right, we're back as we head to the 7th inning in a 4-4 tie in the semifinal at Brookside Park in Ashland, Ohio. As Kyle Ezekiel, the third baseman, steps into the box. And if you're watching this when you saw Cody Pannybecker's home run, I haven't seen a lot of home runs that far hit here, have you? I've watched a lot of ball games here from a little kid till now, and that was probably the longest home run I've ever seen here. I mean, he cleared the vehicles out there. All the insurance companies were worried, and they didn't have to be when he's up. And where was that pitch? If Picasso would have painted a strike zone, he would have hung it on that umpire's wall, because that was a perfect pitch, right? I don't know where was that pitch at? What fell? Luciano's knocking stuff around over here. You got to quit drinking so early, buddy. Even if it's just coffee. You got to slow down. You can't be dropping stuff when you've got all that expensive equipment. We're getting a few more fans here as Church is letting out and they didn't want the buffet. Fly out to Sabate, and that's the first out of the inning.
One down brings up the designated player, Jason Hill.
Jason Hill will step in, the DP, with one away and a 4-4 tie in the top of the 7th inning from Brookside Park. And many people listening, I'm sure, know where Brookside Park is. Maybe they played here or they watched a game here, right? As Mike and Mark talked about yesterday on the broadcast, about everybody that's anybody that played softball came through here, right? A few didn't, but most people did. You know, I forgot to ask Joe last night. I was texting back and forth with Joe Vigil, my buddy that played for Larry Miller Toyota. I forgot to ask him if he ever played in Ashland. He lives in California, but, well, Peter Meredith was his pitcher. I mean, and when you say Peter Meredith, that rings Hall of Fame, doesn't it? One of the best ever to do it. Ever to do it. Fly ball going to travel out of play, and the Gremlins are all hanging out down there talking about the next game, and it flies right over their head, but they're going to chase it down. So whatever you think, Beesgrove's still chasing the foul ball for us. That's a good kid. That tells you he's 19, right? Those old guys don't have the energy this time of day. They're trying to save it for the game. Yeah, he's got to turn that ball in. Well, with the price of inflation, it was a dime when we were a kid. Remember, you take the ball, take it in, grab the dime, and run back here to the concession stand, and you'd get something from the concession stand for a dime. Today, you'd walk into the concession stand with a dime and they'd say, "Go get your parents." Yeah, exactly. Where's your debit card? Penny candy is no longer penny candy. And if you tell somebody a penny for their thoughts, they say, "Give me some more money," and I might tell you what I'm thinking. Strike 3. 2 away on Bear Creek. Jeff Lyons will step into the box. As Kubo Oseka is cleaning up here for Marco Diaz. And he really pitched well Friday night. Yeah, I didn't go back and look at the stats, but he threw the ball very well, as I recall. And I'm not taking any pills for memory loss at this time. And that ball was just missed inside. I don't think Lyons was sure. That was pretty close. Top of the 7th inning, 2 outs here, 1-1 count. And a foul ball back to the screen. 1-2. I have 1 ball, 2 strikes over there, Mike. And Luciano's on top of it ever since he dropped his phone. He's been more alert. Rocks and fires and throws it just off the corner. He is still sitting there in the same spot. That's actually Yvonne Sachs that's back there now. Did you see? Catcher. That was a change. That's Sachs back there now. 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Is it 3-1? It's ball 4. Ball 4. So it was 3-1. Hey, we're not perfect over here. We never claimed to be.
Now batting the right fielder, Colin Walsh.
So let's see. Looks like a pinch runner headed out there. Robbie Black, who ran more bases yesterday than Kellogg's have cornflakes.
Got it.
As Walsh will step in. Colin Walsh, the right fielder, on the day is 0 for 3, but the last time he reached base and scored, as he reached on an error by the shortstop Carreño. And he grunts and pops the ball up in the air, and Sabate will haul it in. We'll head to the bottom of the 7th inning, all tied at 4. You're watching Softball Premier TV. Luciano gave me the old 1-2 over here. We're back on the air. Bottom of 7. And Carlos Carreño, the shortstop, will lead off. Struck out twice in this contest, has Carreño. But, well, enough confidence in him. He's going to come in and bat for a third time. So Carreño's going to have a shot to try to get his team back in this one.
The shortstop, Carlos Carreño.
Yesterday we played an 11-inning game, and the guys to my right are not looking forward to extra innings, so somebody waved their magic wand as the Lumberjacks are set to go against Schofield in the bottom of the 7th. And I just sat down for the first time this game. It's been an excellent game. 4 runs on each side, but not a lot of earned runs. Schofield's given up 3 earned runs. Diaz only gave up 1 when he was in, and Osika's given up nothing. Ball outside. I believe that's 1 ball, 1 strike on Carlos Carreño. Ball 2 on Carreño. Schofield looks at his catcher, throws a high heater that's offered on and missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. It's always better, though, when the extra inning games for the players are at night, right? Because the heat can bear down on you a little bit. And sometimes the stuff you're sweating out this time of day isn't always as good as it is at night. Mike Van Dyne, what are you laughing about? It's a beautiful few clouds in the sky. We got the sun in our eye, and it's 76 degrees in Ashland, Ohio. That's if that's not a screenshot, Mark. I thought you just did that to keep me happy. Swing and a miss, and that's the 3rd time today that Carreño has went down on strikes. So 1 out, bottom of the 7th, 4-4 tie, and Tyler Boulay doesn't bat because he was replaced by Ivan Sachs.
Now batting the catcher, Ivan Sachs.
And you have to rely on guys like Mark Hastings and Mike Van Dyne to know the pronunciations because there was an Yvonne yesterday spelled the same way, right? And that ball is a short drop fly ball from Sachs. And so a good move, right? Because we've got a base runner. And Sachs with the base hit. And Allheiser, who jacked one himself last time, will come up.
Designated player,
Federico Allheiser, who in his last at bat jacked one over the center field fence. Solario, or I should say Pomeroy, they're both Jordans. It'd be easy to mess them up, wouldn't it? Both center fielders are named Jordan. And earlier today, when I made the comment about if you watched all the games, send me a stamp and I'll mail you a life. Well, we had one taker, Justin Blair. Justin Blair is a local guy that I've known for his whole life. And Justin's wife, Carrie, was actually in my house about 2 months ago, giving me a nice appraisal. Real estate in Ashland, if you want to move here right now, Mark, you better bring your bank account. Your big bank account, because real estate's hopping here in Ashland. Houses are selling for about 10% over what they're listing for, and houses are selling in about 3 days. The houses, anything 300,000 and over, which is honestly 300,000 in Ashland, Ohio, is like $1 million in Columbus, in rural Columbus, right? Anything $300,000 or higher is gone in about 3 days. So you might want to visit and not stay unless you got a big bank account. And, well, the whole team is yelling from the Lumberjacks dugout for Sachs to run to second. He's the only guy that didn't see the ball go behind the catcher, Bolin. I'm not sure if his first base coach was yelling at him, but the players in his dugout were, weren't they? For me, that would have been tragic because he'd have found the ball just as I started moving. Actually, in today's game, I would have gotten ran for, right? Robbie Black would have had a little extra mileage on his shoes if I was playing with him. But when you hit it far, you don't have to run as fast, right? That's what my motto was. Schofield delivers high, ball 4. I don't think he wanted to throw to Olheiser, and that's what Mark Hastings said, and I believe that. And the reason why I believe that is because Olheiser deposited one over the center field fence last time. Cisco Sabate will come up, and, well, Schofield will have a conversation with Coach Charlton as he wants to make sure that he understands the assignment. With a 4-4 tie here in the bottom of 7, not a lot of room for error, or errors for that matter. Sabate, not his best game of the season, grounded out to second and struck out. But that would mean, as we used to say, he's due. Trying to see if I could find. I don't think I have. I think I do have their stats. I'm going to see what he's hitting on his season and tell you. Sabate is hitting. He's hitting 348. So not too bad. 348 when you face this kind of pitching is pretty good, actually. And that is right up the middle, and they're going to get no one as he's going to leg that one out to first, and we're going to have bases loaded for Colmenares, or will it be? That's a base hit.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Brings up
And that is one of those hits that just drive you nuts, right, as a pitcher. I remember, do you remember, what was the guy's name? Diaz that pitched for the Indians. Do you remember him? His first name. Elnar, something like that. I can't remember. Hit it right off the plate and bounced about 30 feet up in the air, and the run scored before he picked up the ball. I mean, that's a nightmare, right? And that ball right there, there's no way to retrieve that, was there? And we still call them the Cleveland Indians here, right, in Ashland. We don't know who the other team is. We never heard of them. Schofield delivers, ball low. Are you going somewhere? Craig Scott's asked me if I want anything to eat. Hot dog. Just a hot dog. Relish, mustard, whatever. I'm getting waited on here from the red stand, baby. And that's 2 balls and no strikes. And why that's significant is with 1 out in the bottom of the 7th inning and a 4-4 tie, the bags are jacked with Lumberjacks. No room for error here as Schofield, Justin that is, will deliver the 2-0 pitch. He rocks, hops, and throws a strike right down the middle. So, well, if you're watching this game from home, it's the first time I believe we've seen the bases loaded today. Schofield, the 2-1 pitch, swing and a miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And remember, folks, though, it's a little tougher assignment when there's only 1 out. And this is, again, a situation where I'm not coaching the team, but pushing the balls out somewhere and scoring that run is the only assignment you have, right? That's it. Got to move the ball. Whether you're moving it, whether you're squaring around to move it or you're hitting it on the ground, you got to move the ball. and that's right down the middle. And strike 3 on Colmenares looking. And that is rough if you're a coach, because that pitch was right down the middle. Kloss has a single in this one in the first inning. He led off the game with a single, grounded out to the first baseman and struck out. Mikolas Kloss with the bags juice, 2 outs, bottom of the 7th. This is the at-bat you play for in the backyard in Little League, right, in wiffle ball or Little League. And he hammers one to center field, and it is out of here, a grand slam for Mikolas Kloss, and that's the way to win for the Lumberjacks. 8-4, your final score in this first semifinal matchup as Kloss delivered a bomb, his second hit of the game, and folks, lights are out for the Bear Creek Express. We'll return to the second game of today's action, a semifinal between Fishers and the Gremlins. You're watching Softball Premier TV.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now, softballpremiertv.com.